You can tell in real time how much more anxiety the right has over the Talarico Senate race with how desperate their attacks are getting against him, how baseless their attacks are. Here's a great example.
I think it is very bold, one could even say brave, courageous, that the Democratic Party would choose Texas, of all places, to nominate their first transgender Senate candidate who's clearly transitioning into a female. You know, when Talarico goes in for a blood test, when he gets a physical, blood doesn't come out, instead soy milk comes out. This man has less testosterone than Jasmine Crockett. It is a mind-boggling choice. They would choose a person to run for that office who looks like he doesn't belong in the Senate, but in a cabaret show. Look, at the end of the day, I have a hard time believing that the people of Texas, some of the toughest, roughest, strongest men and women, are going to choose somebody with that much soy to be a U.S. senator compared to a real conservative, patriotic, God-fearing, and truly beloved statewide figure in Ken Paxton.
I'll give him for Ken Paxton that he's God-fearing. If I purported to believe in the Bible and I went screwing around behind my wife's back, I would fear the wrath of God as well. That was just what is that supposed to be? You did soy multiple times. It was tired and played out the first time that you did it. And like Jesse Waters, you could at least put up some B-roll of Talarico that like mildly supports what your jackass co-host is saying. They could be saying this about anybody. Talarico's just a dude. And what the avatar of raw, unbridled, masculine vigor is gonna be Stephen Miller in this argument? Stephen Miller, you're the guy. Does he look in a mirror and think that he's Vin Diesel or something? You're gonna tell it, you and Jesse Waters, the laziest man in media, they're gonna try to like patronize us about masculinity. Look, I get why you don't want to talk about your candidate. I wouldn't want to have to try to defend Ken Paxton either. That's a very difficult job that's been laid on your lazy, ugly ass laps. But these attacks against Talarico are nothing. They're fluff. They're dandelion seeds. Again, you could apply them to literally anyone. They would be just as baseless in that case. So I don't know, Brett, you're the comedian. He's trying to do a roast or something there. How do you rate it?
I think it's horrible. I think it's just so crazy that he would levy this attacks. Did anyone catch the most recent White House like press briefing? Did you guys see what he was wearing, by the way?
No.
Like it's crazy. And like the five, did you watch Jesse Waters primetime the other day? Because I watched Jesse Waters primetime the other day, and my God, like he was wearing the same dress. Like, this is a hack bit. This is a hack bit.
Yeah.
And it would never fly on stage at a comedy club. It would never fly in a venue where you didn't control the laugh track. That's what it felt like. Like I used to work on a lot where they also shot like all those Disney kids shows, like the ones with Zendaya and Bella Thorne. Like they would do it, and it would feel when you watched it like it was in like a live studio audience situation. But when you're on set and you're watching them, you realize that these actors are just telling jokes and pausing. And the laugh track is put in later. Like Friends, all those shows, what they would do in the 90s is they would shoot it in front of a live studio audience. And if the joke didn't land, they would workshop it and fix it and do it again until the audience laughed. But this is precisely the apotheosis of when you don't get feedback from real people. This is the state media propaganda machine where these two, usually you would like make each other laugh. But watching that, Jesse Waters couldn't even hide it that he thought these were bad jokes.
He was pretending.
It feels.
I get it. I've done shows back in the day with some comedians that would just inflict their jokes on you, and you had to pretend to think that it was
a
funny.
Jimmy Dore joke.
No, I'm not saying any specific names, but I'm saying I didn't want to say that it's you, Brett. No, I'm kidding. Anyway,
I get it.
Sometimes you just give the polite laugh or whatever, and that is what Jesse Waters is doing. He does not think Stephen Miller is funny remotely.
Right. But that is when you know you're living under like a dictator. when you can't say that the emperor's henchman is wearing like ladies' clothes. That's the problem. And like, I just thought that when we became a dictatorship, we'd get like James Bond level henchmen and villains.
Yeah.
But we get these total twerps.
They're just twerps.
They're twerps, man.
Yeah.
Good God.
Related to that, really fast. So Waters, this is the only thing that he does now, is this Talarico thing where he's desperately trying to take this person he knows nothing about and is desperately scared of his platform and you know how effective he is rhetorically and all that, and make it, again, the only thing that they have at all on the right is gender. Everything is gender, literally the identity and gender. So he says, I have a question I want reporters to ask Low T Talarico. Do you own a gun? Are you a Cowboys fan? Does he know the Spurs are playing tonight? Does he own a truck? Does he believe in premarital sex? Does he wear women's underwear? Don't put that out there. Brett will create an image of you, Jesse Waters, in women's underwear. Jesse Waters, you live in New York City and you have forever and you like it and you get driven to work. Somebody drops you off like mom dropping a kid off at school. You're not a freaking cowboy, man. You live in a nice city, you wear a suit and a tie, and you get dropped off, and then you have your latte or whatever. That's your life, and it's fine. I don't mind it. I'd do that life. I would have no problem living in New York. You're not home on the range, buddy, and neither is Stephen Miller. All of these people, they live in big cities because they would obviously prefer to live in big cities. They don't drive around in F-350s. And sure, Talarico probably watches the sports teams of the goddamn state he lives in, I would imagine. There's nothing conservative about being a Cowboys fan. It's the freaking Texas team. And by the way, I thought the NFL was all of a sudden woke and too liberal, and you guys were boycotting it because they were in league with Taylor Swift to take down Donald Trump or something. Figure out your boycotts, buddy. And then remember this, since all of you guys are so goddamn obsessed with aesthetics. Now, in the case of the media, all of them are him, Jesse Waters, Stephen Miller, they're all wearing makeup or whatever. It's not doing them any favors. Jesse Waters, that's the best he's ever gonna do. And Stephen Miller looks like a tiny little sad penis. But Pete Hegseth actually went out of his way to have a makeup studio installed at the Pentagon at our expenses. And I will remind you that their God Emperor, Donald Trump, once stuck his face into Rudy Giuliani's chest for a drag queen comedy skit and said that he smelled so good. That's your avatar of silverback gorilla alpha male masculinity. Okay, spare me. Final thoughts.
Also, Dallas is so gay. Like the archetype of like the Chrisley knows best Texas family. I hate to say, as someone who loves the gays, like, hey, did you see my freshly pressed 501s that I have my wildly shiny like cowboy boots sticking out the bottom of? Like, did you see my dress shirt tucked into my cowboy boots and my fancy 10-gallon hat? Like, saunter is a word to describe you guys. It's fine. Watching those two interact with each other feels very much to me, they're like, oh my God, everyone else is so gay. We should just kiss. Like, that's what it feels. They're like a second again away from Jesse Waters and Stephen Miller being like just making out. Like, get a room, you two. It's just so bad.